So if you'll notice it in previous classes, we already studied monohybrid inheritance and as well as dihybrid inheritance. Now, whatever you are remembering in monohybrid inheritance and as well as dihybrid inheritance, one thing you have to remember that if the given characteristic trait or the contrasting characteristic or given contrasting trait, if it is a dominant one. So as we know, always we are having two kinds of traits. One is a dominant one trait, another one is a recessive trait. So now, if you want to answer the questions in this chapter perfectly, so as we all knows that even yesterday's class also I taught them. So dominant trait means always at least how many capital letters will be there? One capital
capital.
will be there, or second one definitely will be a small letter. Okay, or both will be a capital letter. Both will be a capital letter in where in a dominant one. So if you want to see the phenotype in the dominant one, so the offspring or progeny need to appear like a dominant gene, then at least one capital letter must be there in the genotype. If both are there also, it will be definitely a progeny is appears to be the phenotype of the progeny will be a dominant gene. But if you have taken the recessive gene, if the progeny or offspring wants to appears like a recessive gene, then it must have both small letters. Then only the only possibility to appear that is both letters must be small letters in monohybrid inheritance. So if you have taken dihybrid inheritance, so in there also the same thing. If you want to get the dominant one, so here also the same thing. So as we know, we will take the two characteristics. So di means two characteristics. So here also the same thing. So for example, if you take round, so either it may be a capital or maybe a capital or small r. So both will give you the same results. Yes? Correct or not? So now, same way, if you want to get the round over, now if you want to get the yellow color, so we are having only again, yellow is also dominant one. Same way like how the round is dominant, yellow is also dominant. So if you want to get the yellow color, then we are having two possibilities. What is that everybody? Either both are capital YY or one capital Y, one small y. So there is no another possibilities for getting the round and as well as yellows. So either means some seeds may be round, green can come, some seeds may be wrinkled, yellow can come. That is all the secondary. But if you want to get round, we always having two possibilities. What is the two possibilities? Either both must be capital R or one capital R, one small r. Same way, if you want to get the yellow, means these both are dominant traits. So either we will get both capital Y or one capital Y, one small y. Now, if you want to get the wrinkled seeds, can you tell me what is the genotype should come? Wrinkled. Wrinkled means the only one and only possibility. What is that? Both
Two
must be
small ones.
smaller, no other possibility. Same way, if you want to get the green also only one possibility because these both are recessive one. So that what is the only progeny we'll get? What is the only? Tell me, what is the phenotype? Only it is possible here. Small y,
Two small ones.
small y. So there is no another possibility. So if you are remembering this, we people can answer even very difficult questions also based upon these concepts. So we practice so many. So those who are absent in yesterday's class, you can practice once again. When you are having any doubt, you can ask. Now, as I told you always, 3 to 5 mark, definitely they will ask you from this, which you can get surely full mark in this chapter. Now let us see that today's class we are going to study the next concept, that is what? How are these traits? Traits, what is another name? We can say characteristics are transmitted to progeny. So who is the progeny? Progeny means what, guys? Progeny means what?
Offspring.
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 So characteristics are transforming from parents to the offsprings or parents to the progeny. That is what we'll discuss. So, as we know, who is responsible for the characteristic transmission of traits? Anyone? We all knows that. Who is responsible in any organism? Who is responsible to transfer the traits to progeny
DNA.
from the parents to the progeny? Who is that?
Gene.
Genes. So now, and also we know that these genes is always existed in form of how? They always existed in form of pairs. Yes or no? So now, the genes are only responsible for the traits or characteristic features of an organism. So if we'll take any kind of organism, it may be a plant or maybe animal, doesn't matter. For both, if the progeny or offspring is obtaining any kind of characteristic from the parents, then definitely it is a gene only. So the gene is the one which is responsible for the plants or animals to get the characteristic traits from the parents. So now that is why the characteristics or traits of a parents are transmitted to the progeny. Parents to progeny or offsprings, who is to say that through the genes present, that is only who is to say. Basically, it will be takes place, as we all knows, in a type of reproduction called as sexual reproduction. So now, if you'll notice, basically, like unisexual animal, what we can single cellular animals, like a small lower level organisms and all, where it will happens by asexual reproduction. There, the changes in characteristics is very very less because they are always like a cell division, so they will be DNA will be copying, and as well as the cell is dividing into further and further cell division takes place. No kind of variations takes place, means are much changes or much mutations or much variations we can see in the asexual reproduction. So in where we will observe maximum variations, guys, basically from parents to the offsprings, where we can observe only in the sexual
reproduction.
so, in this sexual reproduction only, we can observe the this transmission of these characteristics from the parents to the offsprings. So, through the only one thing. So, what is that called as genes? So now the genes they contains inside a thread-like structures. What is the thread-like structures called as? Everybody, they are only called as what? Yes, please. Chromosomes. Understanding? So that is only we used to call something. What is that name called as? Anyone?
DNA.
DNA.
What is the DNA full form?
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
Ribonucleic acid. Now, let us see, as we all knows that this DNA is only responsible for the transmitted to the characteristics from the parents to the offsprings, are these chromosomes only are responsible for transmission of characteristic from parents to the progeny or the genes. So let us discuss how this process will take place. Now, as we know, always genes will work. How they will work, guys? Individually, or they will work in what? They always work in
Pairs.
pairs. So, if you take, there is a pair of genes for each characteristics of an organism. So, if I am seeing any one characteristics in any one living being, it may be a plant or maybe animal. So, for every characteristics of an organism, definitely one pair of gene is responsible for that. So now if we'll take in that maybe one gene is a dominant one and the definitely another one pair. One is a dominant, and the second one will be a what? What will be recessive gene? Yes or no? So there is a pair of genes of everything. As we know, for every pair, maybe it is one is dominant one and one is recessive, or we cannot say both are dominant or both are recessive, whatever it is. Now, if we take each parent possesses a pair of genes for each characteristics on a pair of chromosomes. So when they are giving, suppose when we are getting one characteristic from the father, for one characteristic, like any characteristic from the mother. So for every characteristic, parent, like father will give it as a pair, means in the form of chromosomes. So always one pair is responsible for every characteristics what we are seeing in the progenies. So now if you see here, each parent only possesses one of the two genes of the pair of characteristics in the time of formation of gametes. So when they are involving in the sexual reproduction, so when it is forming the progeny, means in the sense of ready to form the offspring. So basically, suppose you will take suppose mother and as well as father. So if you take father having a particular characteristics, maybe a hair color, or body skin tone, or whatever it is. So whatever the characteristic he has, the responsible due to one pair of genes or one pair of chromosomes. Now, when they are involving in the sexual reproduction or in the formation of gametes, so as we know, in the formation of gametes, they will always, as we already studied the law of independent assessment and law of segregation and all, they always act independently. Do you understand? Is it yes or no? So now, when the formation of gametes, there is no kind of intermixing of gametes or something. So when they are forming the gametes, each one, mother will donate one gene and father also will donate one gene. So when it will come to the progeny means offspring, again for that particular characteristic, how many pairs of genes will form? Everybody, how many pairs of genes will form? One pair of gene. Understand? So during the formation of gametes, they will donate one one chromosome of each one. Father will donate one gene, and mother also will donate one gene. So if it will comes to the progeny, again it will turns into one pair is responsible for that particular characteristics. So that is what it will happen. So if we'll take for a father, as we know, fathers wish to say male gametes, and mother who is to say what gametes it is, female gametes. Okay, so this male gamete and as well as female gamete, they will carry one gene for each characteristics from the gene pair of parents. So as we know, if we'll take basically humans, how many chromosomes, how many pairs of chromosomes will be there, everybody?
23.
Understanding? So mother is also 23 and as well as father is also 23. In that, how many common chromosomes are there? 22 pairs
20.
of common chromosomes or genes, and only one set of pair is not common in male and female. Now, as mother is donating the female reproductive cell, as we'll say egg or ovule, and father is donating sperm here. So sperm, and as well as this mother is donating the egg, or we can say male gamete and female gamete. So these gametes contains either it is a pair of genes or single pair. Everybody, what they contain? Suppose if we'll take the male gamete, it contains what? One gene for each characteristics. Do you understand, everybody? All of you? Please respond. It contains one gene from each characteristic. From where? From the father. Same way, mother, she is donating the egg. So egg is also contains one gene for each characteristic. So it may be a recessive gene or maybe a dominant gene. We people don't know. Now, when they both combine, that process is only we used to say, what we used to call? When they form, they fuse each other. What will happen? The fusion, fertilization will take place. So they will form the fertilized egg. What we used to call that? That is only known as zygote. So now, in this zygote, what will happen? Suppose in this zygote, later what will happen? It will be takes place. Cell division will takes place, and it will be formed the new baby. Now, if you notice it here, for each characteristics, what we are observing in the baby. So one gene is coming from the father, and another gene is coming from the mother, so that always for every characteristic one pair of gene is responsible in the baby or progeny coming from both father and as well as mother. So that is how the characteristics or traits is transforming from parents to the offsprings. So one thing again I'm saying, remember, when a sexual during the sexual reproduction, a father and as well as mother, so they will be having, suppose father is having a black hair. Okay, so now how many pairs of genes is responsible inside the father? Just to tell me. Suppose father is having a black hair and mother is having a light brown hair, or else we'll get pale yellow hair. We will be having so pale yellow hair. Yellow hair. Now you tell me, suppose pale yellow hair is the recessive or dominant one. I don't know. Let me take it is a pale yellow hair is a recessive one, and the black hair is the dominant one. So definitely they will be having a pair of gene. Is it yes or no, guys? Please respond. A pair of gene. Father is also having a pair of gene, and mother is also having a pair of gene. Now, if we'll take the baby, so they will donate male gametes and as well as female gametes, and they will form the progeny. So now if we take in this progeny, maybe they may get black hair or a pale yellow hair, doesn't matter. But during the formation of gametes, so mother will donate how many gene? Is it both small h, or only one H she will donate? Yes, please.
One hand.
Only one H, and father also will donate only one H. So that is maybe a recessive gene or maybe a dominant gene. So we cannot predict it. So based upon that, the color of the baby will decide. We will discuss that also now. One example. So when these are coming during the formation of gametes, you can notice it very carefully. So only mother it is donating one gene, and father is also one gene. So they both combine. If it comes to the progeny, again it will become what? A pair of gene. Is it yes or no, guys? Yes,
Yes,
please.
sir.
So that is what it is called. So from the both the parents, which it is inherited only through the genes only. So that is the reason during the sexual reproduction maximum variations will take place, because a father can come from the different background or different family, or mother can come from the different family, so that the donating chromosome during the sexual reproduction means formation of gametes is maybe a dominant or maybe a recessive based upon the family. So that is why the large number of variations we can observe in the progenies. So that is how the genes are responsible for transforming a characteristics from parents to the progeny. I hope you understand or not. Please respond, everyone.
Yes,
So now
sir.
we will take here two genes responsible for a particular characteristic are always present in a corresponding positions of the pair of chromosomes. So nowhere in the organism a single gene is responsible for particular characteristic. Always a pair of gene. If you notice, for one single characteristic in a progeny, always one pair of gene is responsible for it. So that is why always the corresponding pair of gene. Suppose if you will notice in this picture, you are seeing a one pair of gene. So that is what chromosomes we can say. Chromosome pair, or we will say a gene. So now here you are seeing the two kinds of genes. Can you tell me what is that? One is gene is present tallness, and another is the gene which is present for what? What is that you are seeing here? Please respond. Dwarfness. So now, if you see that different forms of same gene, if you notice it here, this is what the chromosome pair, which may be present in plants or may be present in the animals, whatever it is. So one is coming from the one parent, another one is coming from the another parent during the anything self pollination or sexual reproduction or whatever it is. So if we'll take here two genes for the same characteristic, what is that? What is the same characteristic here? Both you tell me. All of you. What is the common characteristic? Tallness or dwarfness doesn't matter. It is basically if we'll take in the plants. What is that actually? It is decides the length of plant stem. Is it yes or no, guys? Please respond. So a length of a plant stem maybe a tall or maybe a dwarf, doesn't matter. Always, how many pairs of genes are responsible? One pair of genes, understanding, is responsible either for tallness of plants or dwarfness of plants. So now if you see, one gene of pair is a tallness in this one, and one gene in this pair is a dwarfness. That is what small t. Now, if you get the progeny, that is what if you take, suppose it will be takes place and means in the sense of the progeny having inherited two genes. That is what are one pair of gene for each trait from its parents. But if you will take the trait shown by the progeny always depends on which the inherited gene is the dominant of. So now what is the progeny appears to be here? Can you tell me? What is the phenotype here? All of you? This gene is inherited. This gene is inherited in the.
Are used to contact.
Please. Now, you tell me, please, if these pair of gene is inherited in the progeny, so means in the sense of what is the appearance of the, what is the phenotype of the gene, any that plant? Anybody can tell me? Yes, please. I'm asking the question, these pair of gene is inherited from the parents. One is from the tall, another one is dwarfness. From the parents, the progeny is inherited. Now tell me what is the appearance? What is the phenotype of the plant? Anyone? Tall only. Because the pair of gene appears here is capital T and small t. Means in the sense of capital T is present. Means it is dominated or recessive. It is a dominated. So as we know, for dominated, if you want to see the progeny as a dominated gene, then at least one capital T, capital letter is sufficient. So now this is the pair of gene which is inherited in the progeny. One is from one parent, another one is from another parent. But if it comes to the length of a plant stem, this both pair is responsible. Both pair is responsible for the phenotype of a progeny. Now the phenotype which is appears to be what? The plant. What is it, everyone? That is tallness. Because here a dominant of the two is tallness, so that definitely it will be appears to be tall. That is what how the genes are responsible for everything. So if you take anything like a pea plants, or if you take the humans or any other kind of things, this inherits the gene for tallness, capital T from one parent, and the dwarfness from another parent. So this tallness is came from the one of the parent of pea plant, and if you take the dwarfness, this is came from the second parent plant from the another pea plant, and you can see when they combine both in the progeny, definitely the progeny is appears to be tall only because of dominant one. So that is how both parents pass on one copy of each of gene. It may be a dominant one or it may be a recessive one. doesn't matter. But when they're coming to the progeny, always they will become a pair of gene which is responsible or which is inherited for the particular characteristics of a progeny. So that is what you have to remember. So for example, both the parents will donate recessive. For example, this first parent also donates small t, second parent also donate the small t. Then what is the progeny? Yesterday one question I taught you. That anyone, what is the progeny will appears? Both are
Small.
donating the small t. The progeny will be appears to be what, guys?
Dwarf.
Progeny is
Dwarfness.
smartness only. So, like that, based upon the donating of the gene which is responsible during the formation of gametes, what is the gene is responsible for that particular characteristics and what is donated by the parent will decides the progeny's phenotype, how it is appears. That is what you have to remember. So that is why a same gene which controls one characteristic feature, if you will take both, it may be a tallness or dwarfness, whatever we can say. The what is the characteristic? It is called as length of a plant stem. It is responsible based upon the parents of the pea plants, which is donating either tall or dwarf gene during the formation of progenies. But you can remember, if you want to increase the length of the stem, suppose these plants, if you want to increase the length of the stem, making the plant tall, or decreasing the length of the stem, making the plant dwarf, then as we know that yesterday one question also we told, Mr. Mendel has cut the anther in the bisexual plants to make it a particular desired character. Understanding by the time we people also know present even genetics and all, a particular desired characteristics he got, you people can make it to form. Even one of the movie, your Surya movie, brothers will be there. Have you noticed the movie? His father is a genetic engineer. He will say that he has been taken the different kind of genes from like a different people, and he wants to make a super baby. So, but his experiments has failed, and they have been born like that. He will say that. Have you remember that movie? Anybody? Yes, please. All of you. Nobody. Brothers movie. Surya's brothers movie. It is. So in that you can see that the genetical changes how it will be takes place. So always we have to remember that tallness and dwarfness are not to be considered two different genes. They are just two different forms of same gene. But one is the dominant one, another one is the recessive one, which will controls only how many characteristics, guys? Both tallness and dwarfness. The both are same type of gene. They are not as two different genes. So both will control only single characteristics. What is that? All of you. Length of a plant stem. Understanding? So either it is a tall or dwarf is decided by these two. That is why they are considered as the same kind of gene. That is what you have to remember. So this is how the gene or the characteristic trait is inherited from parents to the progeny through the genes only. So the genes only contains the chromosomes. That is what we people will say like DNA. DNA is the responsible for whatever the characteristic traits which we are obtaining from our parents to the progenies and from us to the next generation. It will be always carried forward. So as we all studied monohybrid and dihybrid and all, maybe in F1 generation, some characteristics will be disappear due to the law of what? Anybody can tell me? Law of dominant. Understanding? So law of domination. So because of law of domination, when the parents are crossing, so parental crossing, it may leads to the completely domination, dominant progeny will appears in the F1 generation. But in F1 generation cross, if you have been done, again the recessive trait is definitely appears in the progenies. That is what we already studied in monohybrid and dihybrid inheritance. Yes or no? Anybody? Please, anybody is having anything down? You just ask me. So that is how the genes for each pair, each characteristics of a progeny is decided by a one pair of gene. One is coming from the male parent, another one is coming from the female parent in sexual reproduction. But in plants and all self-pollination, there also it is the same. So like if you take a tall plant and dwarf plant, so both are same kind of gene which is responsible for a particular characteristics. Now, if you understand this one, now let us discuss how these genes are controlling the characteristics or traits of an organism. So let us discuss. So that is the most important one. So now with one of the real life example of ours, we people will discuss so that you people will understand very easily. Now, if you have taken basically how do these genes will controls the characteristics. So please make it, then you will understand. How do genes control the traits or characteristics? Your choice. Whatever you want, you can write it. Characteristics. How do genes controls the characteristics? So as we know, if we'll take DNA is the common word which we people will use for basically that is what is the responsible for all the characteristics of a progeny coming from the father or coming from the father and as well as mother. In the case of humans, it will take. So this DNA only is responsible for every characteristic trait which is we are seeing in the progenies. That is what this DNA, a gene is a section of DNA on a chromosome which codes for the formation of formation of a protein controlling the specific characteristic of the organism. So basically these genes are formed by the formation of a protein only, which are particularly designed or controlling a specific characteristics of organism. Different characteristic, different gene, which is formation of a protein, which will controls the specific characteristic. Suppose if we'll take a plant or if we'll take the human, let us discuss both first. Suppose if we'll take the plant progeny, it is having a gene for the characteristics of particular one, which we used to called as a tallness. So now tallness means, as we know that, what is the gene responsible? Anybody can tell me? Either it will be a capital T, or it will be a what?
Capital T, small t.
Small t. So this is the gene is responsible for a particular characteristics who will controls the plant. It may be a capital T, or maybe capital T, small t. So now if you'll notice it here, this gene for tallness. So what will do this gene? This gene will give the instructions to the plant. So whatever it is, a particular age, so it will receive the gene will give the instructions of the plant cells to make lot of plant growth hormones. So what will happen? The growth hormones will releases more and more in the plant. So due to the formation of excess of plant growth hormones, the plant will grow too much and it will become very, very tall. That is how the stem of the plant will be increases more and more. So the gene which is present inside this plant at a certain age based upon the time or whatever it is, it will give the instructions to the plant cells to release the growth hormone. So whenever these growth hormones are released more and more and more, excessive growth hormone, so that the plant will grow too much and finally it will become a tall. Understand everybody? So now, suppose if it is having a set of dwarfness. So what is that? Anybody can tell me? What is the plant has a gene, a set for dwarfness? Means in the sense of what is that? Anyone? Small t and small t. Understanding? Now, what will happen means then less. That is also doesn't mean that it is not giving instructions to release the growth hormone. which will also gives encourage, because this tallness or dwarfness, both are stem length of a stem only, which will controls the length of a stem. But this tall one, as it is a dominant one, which will give the instructions to the cells, plant cells, to release more growth hormone so that the plant will become tall. But the dwarfness gene, it will give the instructions like then less plant growth hormones only will be produced. Due to that, plant will also grows less. So that is why it will be remains appears to be short only, and that is why the plant will be appears to be dwarf plant. We people will say, because it will never